you know, as much as I might like to make fun of Kirito, I relate to him a whole lot in one regard, and that is the desire to go fast, to just constantly be going faster and faster and faster, just, can I fail faster? Because failing is very important. The faster you fail, the faster you know how to change course. You gotta constantly be assessing, where did things go wrong, where did things go right if you do succeed, and how can we replicate this so that it doesn't happen the same way again? Ultimately, anything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger, as they say. And what they mean by that is, if you're not dead, you can always try again. Even if you fuck up absolutely to the max, you're still alive, there's still a chance to try again. And as long as you learn something from your failure, you'll be even better off than you were before. In case anyone doesn't understand what that idiom means. Back in 2015, the success paradigms for YouTube's algorithm were readily apparent. MatPat had made a bunch of videos about how PewDiePie had grown so successful. He made videos about, like, what the algorithm is looking for. And it was self-evident in the fact that all the people who were successful, you could just look at what they were doing and copy it. And I figured it out pretty quickly. I copied it occasionally when I felt like I needed to grow, but I was always addicted to experimentation. I was always trying to do some semblance of whatever I wanted, but to package it in a way that might make somebody care. And that worked out really well, shockingly well. People more and more were interested in just seeing me do whatever I want, as opposed to trying to do something for them. I kind of touched on this in that Otaku Sanctuary video. But when you experiment a lot, you're bound to fail a lot, especially if you are deliberately working outside of the success paradigms that are supposedly in place. If you're going out of your way to create something entirely new, you have no idea if it's going to be liked or disliked, or even if it's going to be good or bad. I put out plenty of content that I don't even like, that I consider a failure. And there's way more content that never sees the light of day. The amount that I throw out, the amount of canceled projects that I have, some of which are gigantic. I have projects that I'll be working on for literally weeks, reach a point where I realize that the level of effort that it's going to take to complete it will not be worthwhile, considering what the reception of it will likely be, and I just tank the whole project. And this happens pretty regularly. And it wouldn't be so bad to be tanking these projects if not for the fact that if you disappear for a while because you're working on something that ultimately fails, and then something comes up in your personal life that also takes you away for a while, then you've now doubled the amount of time that it looks like you're not doing anything. And that is not a good look. I fucked my career up pretty badly earlier this year. And it wasn't because so much of doing whatever I wanted and experimenting. That was actually working out pretty well for a long time. The only problem is that as the experiments went on, there were always some people who didn't like the way things were going, and gradually I would cycle through patrons or fans. Sometimes I'd lose subscribers, sometimes I'd gain. It all depended on the individual project. But then there came a point where I decided to work on this big, huge monument to my ego and desire to create the ultimate, super unique, super no one else could ever do this or have this idea. It's gonna be the ultimate thing, how they marketed. A series which was only going to be able to work because I was going to market the series. To tie this into anime, let's say that you're making an isekai show. Your show is going to sell itself on the basis of it's an isekai show. People will just automatically watch it because they understand what it is right away and whether or not they're interested in, and a lot of people are interested in isekai. So it's a pretty safe bet. But if you're making something that's totally out there and nobody can tell what it is on the surface, you're going to need a stronger marketing push, word of mouth spread, branding, and that's all what I was going to go for. But to do that is a big risk. You have to build yourself up over a lot of time. You have to really fucking hammer it in that your thing is cool. And your thing has to be cool in the first place for it to work. So I found myself in a really bad position because I spent like an entire month just working on prep work for how they marketed. And then I spent the next month trying to move to Boston. In this period of 2 months where not that much was coming out on my channels, I started bleeding patrons. And this was happening right as I was moving into a place that was a lot more expensive, because up until this point, I had been in such amazing financial grace where I could basically do whatever I want because I was living so far below my means. Suddenly, my means were way lower, and yet my financial responsibilities were much higher. How does one reconcile a problem like that? Make stuff that's for everybody. Forget about this fucking weird, risky shit that's gonna take months to eventuate into something that people will actually care about or that will fulfill its promise and people will get what your vision is. Let's do something that's immediate, easy to understand, and going to sell. So I'd made this video announcing my intentions to try to reach 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. And in order to do this, my plan was to talk about big popular shows by demand. I told my fans, go vote in the comments what shows you want me to cover, and whatever gets the most likes, I will go and cover those shows, thinking, surely, you know, if I just give people what they want, they'll be happy, right? So the first one I chose was Land of the Lustrous. And this video didn't really do all that well. It didn't perform to my expectations. Now I quickly realized that this is for 2 very good reasons. 1, the show is not really relevant anymore, and 2, my video is short and pointed. I only talked about whatever I found the most unique or the most interesting about the show to me. I didn't do like a long, expansive thing on it, which at this point, with this much distance from the show and enough other people having talked about it already, is the only thing that would have really had a lot of value to a lot of people. I didn't assess this, and therefore the video was not very successful. So then I had to reassess and think, okay, well, what do people really want if they don't just want me to talk about the show? So I thought, okay, what people really want from me is big, long videos. And this is what my patrons were telling me a lot. They were like, hey, we don't want the 5-minute Cliff Notes version. We just want to sit down with a big, meaty fucking steak of a video. And I was like, all right, I'll get back to the old your anime sucks, big brutal takedown style, watch all of SHIN SEKAI YORI. And the only reason I chose that show is that it's one that I legitimately had a passionate hatred for. I didn't want to just meme it up and shit on whatever flavor of the week show I would have the same things to say about as I had to say about the Astra score. I wanted it to be a show with unique problems. So I tackled that, sent the script over to Devu, and then I went, well, from here, let's talk about some popular shows. So I go over to Mal and I look at the shows that are the most historically popular, the ones that are like in the actual most popular tab, and I notice Steins Gate. I'm like, I can say something about Steins Gate. So we start watching it and I start coming up with all these theories about the show that I wanted to share, but then I thought this stuff is even more applicable to No Game, No Life. What if we made it a series where we start there, go through Steins Gate, then go through Imo? All of these are really popular shows, so I go watch No Game, No Life. I love it. I write a big thing on it, 20-minute video, thinking, all right, we've done it. Big popular show, big long video, everyone's gonna love it. Underperforms. Well, shit. What happened? What went wrong? Well, probably the problem is that No Game, No Life aired 4 fucking years ago and no one's really got it on their minds right now. Just because the show is extremely popular doesn't mean people will just watch any video about it. Now, this video is basically going in depth about this show in a way that might matter to you if you've got it on your mind, but I know for me personally, if I felt like, oh, I haven't rewatched that show recently enough to understand a deep analysis video of it, I might not go check it out. I mean, I would, because I will watch any analysis video, I don't give a shit, but, you know, we're talking about a version of me that's not a psycho. This was pretty disheartening, because going into this month of videos that I was doing in August, I had 2 major goals. One was to experiment and try to find different video styles that would still make sense without being the kind of boring, rote, by the books, I just throw footage into an editor and the video's done kind of stuff. Stuff that could be done fast and stuff that could be done fun. So with the My Hero Academia video that kicked off the month, it was all about like, hey, what's the most unique way I can film this that will be fun for me to actually create? And that's how I went about it. I also thought My Hero Academia would be automatic views because big relevant show, but the title game wasn't that on point, the thumbnail game wasn't that on point, and more importantly, it just wasn't a super unique take on My Hero Academia that would draw people's attention. Everyone's got a My Hero Academia video. You can't win them over just by writing, you know, some regular ass shit about the show, especially when you're not actually watching it. So all I'm planning to do for this month is grind away at all these experimental videos that I'm not expecting to really get that many views while I work on the big guns in the background. No Game No Life, Steins Gate, or a Emo. These are the ones I have planned while Devu works on the SHIN SEKAI YORI video, except that the No Game No Life video comes out, doesn't perform that well. Turns out I kind of used a lot of the things I wanted to say about Steins Gate in that video, and it would make more sense to talk about Steins Gate after Steins Gate 0, which is actually relevant, is concluded, compare the two shows, and make a big comparison video, which people will be interested in when the time comes, and that's why I'm going to do that. And Emo can come later, I guess. So on one of these days, I'm just like making a finish or fail full dive, and I was going to try to expand on that series, edit it a little bit differently, try to make it something a little bit more exciting, and my video just wasn't coming out very good. I was like, this is kind of shit, I'm going to throw it away. And I just look over to my fiance and I say, what should I make a video about? And she's like, why not make a video about this Crunchyroll controversy that's going on right now? And I'm like, alright, maybe I'll just pour out all of my complaints about Crunchyroll into one short video. That'll be fun. That video's got almost 1 million fucking views in less than a week. But it wasn't just that it got a whole lot of views, it's that I gained a whole lot of patrons and subscribers. Now, supposedly, patrons and subscribers aren't as into these short form videos, they want the big, long, meaty stuff. But this video is just passionate. People like it because it was timely, it was passionate, it was saying something that was on a lot of people's minds, it was highly relevant. I was writing the zeitgeist. Let's think of culture as an ocean and events as waves. What I've been doing is going out to the ocean and saying, I need a boat that I can sail on this sea. In between me going back to my private beach in the back of my mind where I surf on my own waves of passion of whatever I happen to be interested in. Most YouTubers have a boat. Jeff Thu, Mother's Basement's got a yacht. He sails around on his yacht, he looks at each wave that's coming, and he just catches all the people who are surfing that wave, and he drags them onto his boat, and he's like, come here, let me fucking tell you about the wave thing. And those people are like, cool, but he does the same thing every time. The idea is observe the trend, apply my formula to it, and sail on. But me, I'm not much of a boat guy. I'm much more of a surfer. I prefer to tackle every single thing on its own terms. It's why I don't have a consistent video style, and I never have, if you go back through my content, even though it was usually a written script that is of, you know, whatever length, and it is edited anime footage over it. They were always totally different from each other. It's not like I was doing reviews or like a standard length or anything. It's just whatever piqued my interest. Yet, I wasn't going that far with it because I thought these things have to be at least somewhat normal or else people aren't going to care. But it's not about the boat, it's about the wave. There's 1 million yachts out there. Nobody's impressed by your yacht. They're impressed by what you do with your yacht. If you sail your yacht through the waves that everyone's currently riding, then you're gonna have some people come and see your yacht. They might not really even, like, care enough to take a picture with it. This metaphor is getting fucking extended as shit. But the point is that what I needed to do was not to try and build a boat to sail this ocean. I just needed to take my surfboard that I was already using to surf the waves on my private beach and use it to perform kick-ass tricks off of those motherfucking waves. And that is exactly what that Crunchyroll video is. There was this big wave coming, and some people were just sailing boats through it, doing the typical content that anybody would come up with on YouTube, and I took my surfboard of my personality, my unique way of approaching YouTube content, and I surfed the wave, did a big-ass flip off of it, and a bunch of people went, wow, cool flip, dude. And then I kept, you know, riding through the tunnel of that wave for a few days because the wave was still going and it was still a kick-ass wave and I was still performing some sick tricks. And that's ultimately what I've come to appreciate about this month. What I have come to realize is that it's never been about the style of video. No one's ever really cared about the style of video. And I don't really listen to people when they tell me what they want anyways, because I know anything about marketing theory and that the customer never knows what they want, they just know what they like. They can look at what they like and identify what they like, but they don't necessarily, and even if they know why they like it, they don't necessarily know what they want, because you can't know what you want until it's been created. Go read about the whole sauce theory. This is common shit that everyone knows, and yet nobody seems to apply it to their fucking everyday thinking. I don't know why. So if you watched Rebuild of DigiBronyMLP, you may have gotten the impression that what I'm going to be doing going forward is just big videos with a little bit, like, more frequency about whatever happens to be popular. And that's not what I'm going to do now. What I'm really going to do is I'm going to ride the waves. I'm going to pay better attention to what's going on in the ocean if I'm going to surf in public. After all, my private beach is pretty much invite only. It's not like I'm, gonna invite a bunch of people to my private beach. This fucking metaphor, I can't do this anymore. The point is that whatever is the zeitgeist is what I'm going to attempt to surf. And I'm going to do the tricks that I know how to do, however I know how to do them. I forgot that this was the failing as fast as possible video. Whatever, this is reflections on a month of doing videos. This is the conclusions I've come away with. I think I've made my point. See you in September!